Fantastic.
You want to roll it from the top again so they hear you?
Yeah,
Or are
for
we just
sure.
gonna go into it?
Um, I think I'll run through it again. So then we'll
Sure,
have
man.
it
It's
have
your
it all
show.
consistent.
Cool.
All right. Hello, fun people. I'm Isaac Carlson, and on Following Dreams, I'm focused on exploring the stories of people who are following their passions and achieving their dreams. I want to help inspire you to pursue what you love by hearing how others have done it. And if this conversation today or any of the others we do makes an impact in your life, then consider telling a friend about what we're doing on this series and review my podcast, Watso Radio, over on iTunes. Today, I'm speaking to a man who has grown the largest Star Wars fan-run YouTube channel in the world. In a little under a year and a half, he grew a community of over 1 million people who were passionate about exploring theories and understanding the lore behind the grand story created by George Lucas, and he hasn't slowed down since. He now has numerous theory channels, co-hosts the podcast Rule of Two, and has even produced an epic Vader fan film that he personally funded himself. To check out his work, I'll leave links down in the description. Welcome, an inspiration of mine, Star Wars Theory.
Welcome. How's it going? For the second time, what's going on?
Yeah, now that it's all working consistently, we're good to go.
All
Oh,
right.
man. Yeah, thank you for coming on today. It's so exciting to be able to talk
Thanks
to
for
you.
having me.
You're a legend in the fandom community, growing so quick and being able to have such a massive community. Right away, I want to ask, what are you passionate about? What gets you really excited about what you do?
Well, in the beginning, it was just, I didn't have any following. It was just making content. I was like, how cool is it that I can make content and get an engagement from fans and they can react and comment and things like that. And I thought that was like the most wild thing because growing up, I didn't really have that, right? Like you get made fun of for liking Star Wars. You don't really have friends that like Star Wars all that much. Maybe in an online community slightly
For
on
sure.
forums and stuff, but not to this extent.
Mhm.
So that really made me excited, and I was like, "This is so cool! I get to actually like talk and have a voice, and people will listen, or disregard it, but they'll talk about it. It's cool. So I have an audience, and that's really what got me going. And then it evolved into something more emotional, where it's like now I can actually move people through a story, or tell a story, or maybe tell a story in a spin-off, like a fan fiction of what I think would happen, and that was always very interesting to me too. And then, of course, it led to fan films and this and that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's similar to what I was experiencing, where it was like it felt weird to be able to talk about Disney princesses.
Yeah,
That's not
right.
something you typically talk about with a group of guys in high school.
No, no,
but
no.
but there's communities where you're able to do that. And yeah, and then once you have that, you can start shaping the fandom yourself,
Yeah,
make an
yeah.
impact in it. That's
And
incredible.
and
Mhm.
that's the important part about it, I think, is like you bring whatever you want to the table, and it's like you have your own certain spin and look on things.
Mhm.
So I'm sure, like with what you do, you have your own certain spin and look on how you approach your videos or your topics or your theories, and that's what makes you you. And
Yeah.
I like that. Everyone's got a different take.
Hmm. Yeah, different perspectives on all of the characters and how like the lens that people look through. There's certain
Yeah.
people that love the dark side of stories and others that
Yes.
love the heroes and the happy endings and everything like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what was your background with Star Wars growing up? Could you talk about how you were introduced to Star Wars, your experience on Star Wars forums, and why your favorite character is Darth Vader?
Sure. Well, I was introduced to Star Wars when I was about about 6 years old. My dad, he he showed me the old VHS of the original trilogy, and I immediately was transfixed. I thought this was like the coolest thing, pretty much like any other kid did who liked Star Wars. It was in a different world, a different galaxy, and that's what I was drawn to that, and it was love at first sight.
Totally understand. I remember watching Phantom Menace on VHS too, those
Yeah,
classics back in
yeah.
the day. So you had this love of Star Wars that began early into your life, but that wasn't something that was super prominent in your life necessarily, something that you didn't think could become a career. Could you talk about what it was like before you were Star Wars Theory? What was it like being a realtor before you became this big YouTube star?
Oh man, I've pretty much had like every job there is, from like putting flyers on people's cars to, gym coupons and retail and just working at a computer store, like everything. My
Hmm.
first job that I ever wanted to do was to be a VFX artist for Lucasfilm, and then that evolved into wanting to work for NASA and build robotics and stuff. So you can always see like it was always like always wanted to go to this next realm, this next world kind of thing, and do like geeky science fiction stuff. And pretty much everything I did, I didn't really. I was passionate about it, but I was never as passionate as you never enjoy things as much as your hobbies,
Hmm.
right? So I feel like if everyone can turn their hobby into a career, then they're going to be really happy in life because no amount of work is really work.
Uh,
So that's how I feel.
yeah, yeah. It's my grandma, funny enough, sent me an article, and it was like the thing that you do at 10 years old is the
Yeah.
thing that you should be doing the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's so true that it's those things that you're just naturally sent towards.
Gravitate towards. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the stuff. And I
Hmm.
think if everyone in the world had something like that, then honestly, I think the world would be probably happier.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um, just so you know, I think your screen is like cutting in and out of like blurriness, and I don't know if that's something on my end.
It's probably my camera. It does that sometimes.
Oh, okay.
It's weird.
Yeah.
That's all right. They get a good vision of me and the background too. So that's
Mhm. um, so now trying to think what the next phase. Yeah, so it's this love of the thing that you like really clamor onto is the thing that you should keep doing. I remember really liking the idea of being like a Disney animator. And so
yeah.
but when I started to actually think of what type of work that really was, like moving around a character and like barely moving them for an entire day and that being your entire job, like sounded so slow and like
Yeah.
something that was just the grind your life to a halt. And
Yeah.
so I love this fast paced work of doing YouTube. And you definitely ramped that up as well. You got your start a few months after The Force Awakens was released, and you made a Snoke theory that he might be Sidious all along. Would you
Yeah.
explain what it was like to suddenly have hundreds of people coming to your channel all at once?
It was weird. I didn't really understand it because I actually made that video and then I forgot about it for 3 weeks. And I remember checking back on YouTube and I'm like, why do I have like 200 subscribers, 300? Like, where'd that come from? I'm like, oh, from my Star Wars video? No way. And then I looked at it and yeah, it had a few thousand views. And then I checked back a few days later or something. Or actually, a buddy called me. He's like, your video's at 24,000 views. And I'm like, what? How? And then
Mhm.
a couple days after that, it was at 80,000. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I made another video, and oh man, I think it was at like it got to like 400 views or something. It was just dead. And but I just really enjoyed making content. I was just in my downtime. I just loved, it's just the kind of stuff you would talk to your friends about,
Mhm.
theories or this or that. The same thing. I would just make that into a video, and yeah, eventually, 4 years later, almost here we are.
Yeah, and therein lies the continuity between it all. It's the things
Yeah.
that you just are interested in yourself is probably something someone else really cares about too.
Yeah.
Mm. So I've been making videos for many years, but when you started taking off, you began to post daily on your channel, which is an
Mhm.
absolutely amazing feat. Could you talk about your process of making videos then and how that might differ now?
Yeah. Um, well, back then I would make 3 videos a day, and I wouldn't sleep. I'd maybe get like 3 hours of sleep.
Mm.
Um, I worked like around the clock, and I just really gave up everything. Like I gave up sleep, I gave up eating properly, I gave up social life, a romantic life, everything. I just was devoted to growing my channel and really pushing it as far as I could. Um, I just wanted to see how far I could take. I've just always kind of been like that with life, where if I do something, I'm going all in, and I really push it to an unhealthy uh, obsession,
Sure.
and that's where I took it, and so it was 3 videos a day, and eventually it evolved into now where it's much more relaxed. It's kind of just on the fly. Like if I think of something, then I'll make that video for that day, and that's it. And that's pretty much how it's been the whole time. But it's just I feel more relaxed now. I don't know what it is. It's just
Mhm.
different.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's probably just like moving out of the need to build. Is that having anything to do with it? Like, is it easier now that you have an audience, or do you continue to like want? Are you like willing to pull back because you have a bit of wiggle room now, and you know that you
No,
have time to build?
no. So now I feel like um, making the regular lore videos and stuff. It's fun and all that, but I want more. I want something different.
Mm.
I want to make something bigger. I feel like making lore videos now is just it's almost it's I've gotten too used to it, I guess you could say, and it's too easy maybe, and I want to make. That's why I'm trying to like push the boundaries, maybe do some animations, see how that goes, and then I really want to make movies. That's where I'd like to take this whole thing, make my own kind of movies.
Mm.
So um, the next episode for the Vader fan film will be the last, most likely, and then I can focus on my own stuff. But I
Sure.
want to finish that story.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember seeing your updates about it, like
yeah,
that it was going to be the 5-parter, and it's starting to slowly mold into the large second part. It's
yeah,
very exciting. Could you
yeah.
talk about what it was like to go down the path of like creating a fan film, and why it was so important to have your director Danny Ramirez come on?
Well, because if I directed it myself, it might be decent and might get the point across, but it wouldn't be um, next level. It wouldn't be as good as it could be if I had, a professional director on board. And so that's why I felt like, it's definitely calling to have a good reason to have him on board.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was the other question?
Mainly just what was it like to transition into that? How did you decide to
Oh,
go down that path?
it's a funny story. You're going down a path I cannot follow. Um, I I announced it in a video once. I was like, you know what? One day, like I think I had maybe 2,000 subs or 4,000 subs. So it was like, it's my goal to one day make a fan film about Vader and just show how brutally powerful he is and explain his story as Anakin Skywalker. And so eventually, when I think I was around 5 or 600,000 subs, Danny emailed me in the summer of I think it was 2016 and or 2017,
Mm.
and he said, "Hey, I'm a director. Like, I could bring this vision to life. I could help you. Like, let's work together." And I just discarded it, and I kind of didn't really think anything of it until about like 8 months later, in January or so. He messaged me again. He's like, "Hey, look, like I'm gonna try again. Like, let's link up." So I said, "All right, sure." And it was really just a whole like, "Okay, sure, let's see where it goes" kind of thing. And and then we made a movie. Yeah. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Was that the
I needed
cold
I needed
email?
that little push that this can be done because I didn't really know where to start.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big limiter in doing a larger production like that. Is that
Yeah.
it's easier to find out how to edit videos than it is to figure out how to run a massive production like that.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different story. But I feel like if you write a story, you can direct it.
Mm.
It may not be as good as if someone like Steven Spielberg comes and directs it or George Lucas, but you would get your vision across because if you can write it, then you can direct it. But yeah, it's definitely not the same thing as just like editing videos and all that stuff. It's a totally different world. I was like a fish out of water when I was on set.
Mhm. I can believe it. That sounds completely wild and like so different than the type of video productions we're both used to
You
on.
should make your own Disney fan film. When's that
Oh,
gonna happen?
dude, that would be epic. I
Or your
I've
own animation?
ooh, I feel like that would be so fun. I have no clue what it would be about or how I would do it, but I feel like I animated an intro for my videos. So I've had like I have went through the experience of like commissioning a company to do that type of animation and like getting the stylization that I want. But man, it'd be so cool to do a larger production.
It is cool. Yeah, I
Uh,
think you should do it because
yeah.
you made fan fictions, right? You've
Yeah.
made theories, yeah. So there you go.
There we go. Oh man, that's setting the press like the bar high now,
Yeah.
especially with your fan film. Ooh wee. That
No, you can just do it on your own. I mean,
yeah,
you just hire a bunch of people that know how to do it, and that's it. It's your
yeah,
story and done.
go for it.
Yeah, be fun.
It's it's always cool. The closest thing that I feel like I've seen to Disney fan films is the cosplayers who recreate different music videos and songs like that and have all like the
Right, yeah.
costuming and everything.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. My fiance was in one of those. I forgot the name of it though.
oh
It was like
really?
some 80s Disney princess thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, that's I had that's believe that was all run by like Tracy Hines.
Tracy Hines, that's the one. That's the
Yep.
name. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So she knows her and yeah. So,
Wow. Small world,
yeah.
small world.
Small world, man. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, cuz I met her through a Kingdom Hearts 3 event like in 2017 or something. So she was one of the first people I had onto the podcast.
And that's cool.
Mhm.
Maybe one day, hopefully, you could get my fiance on the podcast. She's a big fan of yours.
Oh, very cool.
When I
Yeah.
told her I'm doing an interview, she's like, "What are you doing today?" I'm doing an interview with what? So she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, you know, Disney Channel." She's like, "Yeah, I know. And what the hell? What are you talking about? How are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, it's weird. Small
Yeah.
world.
Mhm. I It's one of those things where it's like you know that there's people out there that watch you like week in and week out, but
Hmm.
most of the time you're so isolated from all of the actual people that watch you.
Yeah, it's weird. And then when people tell you that, you're like, "Oh wow, okay." You don't really know how to react. Or you're just like, "All right, cool."
Yeah. It's like
That's flattering.
yeah, thank you so much. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh man. So one thing that I have to ask about is you've been making videos, had the massive ramp up, a lot of long hours, and at one point you talked about how you were hallucinating because you weren't sleeping. What
Yeah.
was it like when you saw a pirate ship come out of the wall, and what did you think about how you were going to deal with that in the days and weeks to come?
Um, yeah, I knew at that point something wasn't right. But I legitimately saw it coming out of and I thought, something was actually I don't know why it wasn't a spaceship or something, but it was like a pirate ship. It's weird.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I was freaking out because I was like, what the hell is that? And then I was like, and then it disappeared, and I was like, okay, geez. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was at the point where I was so run down with sleep that I'd be typing something, a story or whatever, fan fiction, and then I'd fall asleep and I'd wake up and the paragraph was done.
Mhm.
Like in my sleep, I had written. It was the most bizarre thing, and I still don't understand it to this day. But that would always happen, and I was just running on such little sleep because I was doing all these videos every day that my body would tap into REM sleep within a few seconds of just like nodding off in my chair, and it was just not healthy at all. So I definitely feel the repercussions of that today. I feel like my short-term memory loss is affected, but hey, all in the name of YouTube, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices along the way, but it
Yeah.
got you far. You know, it's that difficult balancing act that a lot of creators eventually go through.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is I think a lot of YouTube creators they don't they see the grand enjoyment of being a YouTuber, such as maybe at your level, my level, and definitely at the levels beyond us, which are the bigger guys. Um, but they don't realize how much work actually goes into this. They think, oh, you just make videos and that's it. Anyone can do that. It's like when people say that, I say, go ahead and do it. Try it. See how difficult this actually is. And I get to experience that now once again with my fiance because she's making her own channel called Disney Daily, where she's grinding every day trying to make views. And it reminds me of me when I was making my videos, because sometimes, you know, you know how it is, especially when you started, I'm sure too,
Mhm.
unless you were extremely lucky, where you work 10, 11 hours on a video and it'll maybe get, you know, like 100 views or 200 views and not much engagement. And it's disappointing because it's like you put all this time and energy into this and it's not the reach that you want.
Yep.
And so for me, I would always sometimes compare with other channels and this and that. And I'd be like, well, I feel like I'm doing this and this differently, or this and this better even, but
Mhm.
yet they have such a farther reach and they get their story across and they get their voice across. So I just wanted a bigger voice. So I was like, okay, what can I do here? So I really pushed it to the next level and just gave up my health pretty much to kind of like get it there.
Mhm.
And I guess it worked.
Yeah. It's definitely, I still feel like that, you know, type of competitiveness and type of comparisons at times where it's these people talked about like the Easter eggs of like a Frozen movie. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, I went through like all of these like really in-depth deep dives about the
Yeah.
characters and their journeys, and
Yeah.
but that like that video performed so much larger than mine. And it's like, should
Yeah.
I be doing those things even though they're not the thing I specifically want to be doing or
It
creating? Or
almost makes you want to clickbait. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah. And
I know what you mean. And I've fallen down that path myself.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, you always have to realize what you set out to do, and that's to tell a story and tell your side of things. And I find if you do that, you eventually build an audience who resonates with that, and they really appreciate your honesty and your sincerity in making your videos to the point where this audience now grows into a massive audience. And now it doesn't matter if you clickbait or don't clickbait because your sincerity is the thing that is now clickbaiting. It's without actually clickbaiting. It's the thing that draws people in, and they
yeah.
like that. So at the end of the day, if just be yourself. In the beginning, it's going to be more difficult, but I mean, you're already successful, so you found your stride. But for anyone else watching this that's starting their channel, just be yourself and do your thing and see
Mhm.
where it goes, and just work hard at it.
Similarly to you, for the first few years, I didn't show my face. Like I didn't have a camera, that I really only had like a really cheap Android phone. So in my
Yeah,
mind, I was just putting the content, the movies, the clips, and all of that stuff
yeah,
on the forefront.
right.
How did you notice your content change when you started introducing yourself into the content more?
Oh, it was drastic. It was a
Mhm.
drastic change. Now it's like if I put my face on anything, it just gets more views because my face is on there. I think that's because I built a level of trust with people by not showing my face for years. And I didn't want to show my face because I felt like people would be more engaged in the story that I'm telling
Mhm.
if my face was out of it and they could not, you know, be worried about like, oh, like why does his face look like this, or why is he making this facial expression, or you know, taking their attention away from the story.
Mhm.
So I did that for a few years. And then finally, when it was time, when I made my fan film, I was like, well, I'm going to do a fan meetup. You know, people obviously are going to know what I look like. So might as well engage with my audience. And then it turns into that. I noticed a far bigger connection with my community. And it's been way better than not showing my face. What's your experience with that?
So for me, what happened was like when I started off, it was just kind of including my face at like the beginning and the end to like intro it and conclude it.
Okay.
And then mainly keeping the middle of the content the same. And over
So
time,
in the beginning, you never showed your face.
yeah, I first it was never show my face. It was
So
like
when did you start doing the intro outro? After a couple of years?
yeah, so I made my first video in 2012, and I actually began
Oh
my
my god.
channel, and it was about Star Wars initially. Like my first
Yeah.
video was like about Master Sifo-Dyas, and that got like
Oh, cool.
50,000 views back in the day.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so exciting to see that. So then I had like 300 subscribers, and I was like posting random videos every few months and
Yeah.
everything. And so when I decided I was going to start posting on a weekly basis, I was my first video was about what I thought should happen to Ahsoka Tano. like if she should face Darth Vader and Rebels and everything like that.
Cool, man.
Yeah, it was exciting time. And from there, it was like a year and a half, I think, after posting weekly, where I decided I would start putting myself at the beginning and the end of the videos. And then and it was difficult because I fully write out scripts for pretty much all my videos and everything.
Right.
So it was difficult to record an entire video without like the script. And then eventually I decided I'd buy a teleprompter, and that made it a lot easier. So then I could be at the forefront of more of the videos.
I need one of those.
Dude, they're great. I've got this like little one that you just screw onto the lens and slide it on, and then you've got the teleprompter and you just stick your phone in. Super slick.
No way.
Yeah. It's like called.
I never even thought of that. I'm just like always like the microphone will be here in the other room, and then there's like the big pop filter, and I'm just like, you're just kind of like reading the lines between the pop filter, man. It's oh my god, that's what it's been like for years.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Dude, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I did a collab with another YouTuber, and he sent me his file, and there was no mistakes the entire time. And I'm like, dude, how did you possibly do that? He's like, oh,
well,
I
he
just
probably edited it.
No, he just had it go through really slowly, so he's just like talking at a very like nonchalant rate on the teleprompter. And I was like, dude, that was incredible. You did all of your clips like fine. And he was like, yeah, just have the teleprompter. And so that was like, and it got my mind going, looking through Amazon for different things like that. And yeah, it made recording in front of camera a lot easier. Now, some people like don't like to use it because they want like the authenticity of the mistakes and the jokes to like come.
It's made me never, because I've never even thought of using a teleprompter. It's made me always when I record on camera, it's there's no script.
Yeah.
So it's just off the fly, which trains you to be kind of quick, but it can be annoying at times because you need that time to like think about something, but you're live and you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So that jars you sometimes, and you can't find your words.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I like, especially with theories and more in-depth like lore analysis, I want to make sure that
you need that.
Yeah, everything like my true point about like a character doesn't get lost.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons I was really excited to start doing interviews like this, was because I wanted to get better at being able to have conversations one-on-one in a way that would get me used to not using ums and have me feel more natural if I would go into like a live setting. If I'd ever do like a talk or a panel or something like that, it'd be a lot easier to be able to do.
A lot more free flow and just, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. But that's something I've noticed you've done a lot, especially with like trailers and things like that. You'll just go live. You'll just start give you all of your thoughts and opinions, and
I just jump right into it. Yeah. Sometimes, every day is different. Sometimes you're just feeling a little slower that day or a little sluggish. So you can't find the proper words that you need for explaining something a little more, like right now, like a little more properly, I guess. I don't know. And then there are other days where it just flows very, very nicely.
Yeah.
And it's really hit or miss. But at the end of the day, you just got to realize that, the way I think of it is like, okay, well, you know what? Everyone's human. Everyone talks normally. If I was talking to my buddy, I'd be talking like this. I wouldn't be talking as if there was a teleprompter. I'd be making mistakes. I'd be saying ums. I'd be saying, and that almost, it makes you more human because it does. And everyone's like that. So I feel like that's, I don't know, I just kind of roll with that now.
Yeah. It gets the true way that you communicate with people that gets through to the viewer more.
Yeah. But like you said, if I'm trying to tell a story like a fan fiction, I make sure it's scripted and it's very, edited.
Yeah. Completely understand that.
Yeah.
So how has your content strategy changed over time so it sounds like going into your channel, it was much more like theory and fan fiction based. How do you view when you make content now, what's your thought process with it?
Honestly, it's really all the same. It's whatever I'm interested in, I cover.
Hmm.
Um, and then other things where I think others might be interested in as well. I try to research that, but for the most part, it's really just what I care about, which in turn is what everyone cares about, normal, like usually, because I'm a Star Wars fan just like anyone else. So it's what I find cool is what the masses kind of find cool too.
Yep. Yeah, it's going down those like deep paths that you'll find in
Yeah,
like the lore and everything that you just got to explore.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are fun. Yeah,
Yeah. uh,
yeah,
Completely. it's
yeah,
it's so like I bet you feel similarly as like when shows start like releasing tons of like new lore in like each episode and you're like slowly building. Like the Siege
yeah,
of
man.
Mandalore is just perfect for tons of content
It
around
was
it.
the coolest. How come you don't cover Star Wars stuff? You're a Disney Channel. I mean, they own Star Wars now.
Yeah. So
You
like
could.
I definitely could. Is like it's one of those things where I've tried it here and there and it didn't like super resonate with my audience.
Okay.
So it kind of like fell to the wayside for a period of time. Like
Right.
I like it's always one of those things where like I've gotten to the consistency of only making 2 videos a week. So then it feels like the stakes are high in each video to make sure that like one like at least lands. So that
Do you find your views are the same with that, with making 2 videos a week versus making 7 or more?
see I've I've never went a full week of making videos. I did it once and
Yeah.
I planned like months in advance like to do it. It was like a princess week in like December instead of doing like a vlogmas. I did like full
Oh,
stories of
wow.
like the
Okay.
first 7 princesses, but I think what gets me caught up is like writing the scripts and then like having putting all like the clips on top of it is I think like the 2 big bottlenecks of like making
It's
videos.
time consuming, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I have it now is I hired an editor. So that just frees up my time for the videos that I personally can't edit. It allows me to focus on my other channels, or it allows me to focus on other content, or just to have more of a normal life
Sure.
where I can sleep.
So that's a question that I've been wrestling with is like do you have an editor that is super into Star Wars or
Yeah,
how? Okay. Yep.
yeah. I didn't hire one until the 3 year mark, a little over 3 years actually. And I was hesitant because you have to know Star Wars. You have to have the same kind of vision that I do when I make my videos, when I tell my stories. Otherwise, it's just not going to resonate with the fans the way I want it to. Like, sure, it'll get a video out and whatever, but at the end of the day, we're content creators. We want it to resonate a certain resonation with our fans that we want it to, not just to get it out. So
Sure.
I had to make sure I found someone, and he was actually a viewer of the channel, and he has his own channel too,
Oh.
Star Wars Elseworlds. Yeah, so he would make his own videos and fan fictions, and a lot of them were very similar to mine. So I was like, dude, would you like to edit my videos? And so he's been my editor for like the last year,
Very
year and a
cool.
bit. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh that's the big limiter for even like pursuing the idea of searching for an editor was like one of the big things that I talked about recently was Tangled the series. And so,
hmm
like it's difficult to tell someone like, "Hey, make sure that you have a full understanding of the last 3 seasons of this show before you start editing this
yeah,
video." So that
yeah.
it's a difficult thing to try to like balance to look for.
It's tough. I would just put a feeler out in your community tab and just be like, hey, like, is anyone good at editing? And you're gonna get a lot of people that think that they are, but they're not. But you eventually find that great editor who knows Disney too.
Sure. Yeah. And that do they also edit other videos for your channel? Like, do they handle a lot of the
No,
different aspects?
no. Star Wars is only Star Wars. Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
Otherwise, there's no time.
Sure. Yeah, you've got a lot to manage with everything that you're doing. Is like
Yeah,
it's so crazy to look at sometimes. I'm like,
yeah,
he's building his theory empire over there.
yeah. I know that one, and I I'm just having fun, man. Like I love creating content, So I probably spend too much time on my gaming channel, but it's honestly it's cool to just game with the community and have fun like that. But no, I'd say my Star Wars channel, my gaming channel, Cobra Kai Theory, are my and Harry Potter Theory are probably my top four that I really enjoy. Um, and then on the Harry Potter channel, I have help with my one of my best friends, Silas, who works on it with me, 50/50. So we cover cool content, and he really helps on that channel too. So I have more time to focus on the Star Wars channel, which I have an editor on, and then the gaming channel is open, you know. So that's how I have more time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're able to expand, do different projects, go
Yeah.
beyond.
And the thing with animations and stuff like that is like you hire a team of people, you just tell them what you want, and I have a very intuitive team who knows Star Wars as well, and they get those animations out and they give their input, and it's great. You start getting these like-minded people that you find and these talented professionals, and they all come together and you make really cool stuff.
Yeah. Yep. That's that's something I've been observing a lot with the YouTubers, the Super Carlin brothers. Like
Mhm.
they've got a lot of they've brought in people that were a part of their community who engaged in it, who talked about similar things, and so they're able to come together and do some very cool things. That's always the dreams that you can engage in all of the different things that you really care about. So that's for
Yeah,
me, you know.
yeah.
So, oh man. So what advice would you give to someone that was, wanting to become the largest YouTuber for whatever fandom thing that they really care about? What would you recommend? How would they follow their dreams?
Um, Never focus on the end goal. I would say detach yourself from the outcome and just have fun.
Hmm?
Because the moment you start focusing on numbers and things like that is when you really, really stress. Because you're never going to get there. You're never going to get there until you get there. And when you get there, you always want more. If you're like me, so there's never an end point where you're like, you know what? If I get this amount of number views or subs, I'm good, man. Because I said that, and now I want 10 million. And
Yep.
it just doesn't end. It doesn't end. So I would say just have fun, make your content, tell your story the way you want to do it. Don't tailor it around views or clicks or anything like that. Just enjoy the process. And if it hits, it hits. And if it doesn't, then at least you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah. You're able to at least, put yourself in a position to succeed and you're having fun while you're doing it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And it's not a stressful thing anymore, right? The whole thing is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. That So, as someone who really, loves Disney and the Disney parks, I'm also very curious to hear about
Me too.
what what did you how or how did you enjoy Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? What was your experience like going there and taking that all in?
I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really interesting how when you're there, it doesn't really feel like they keep you submerged in this world where the actors, the people working there are, they don't say good morning, they don't say good night, they say rising suns, or they
Mhm.
say rising moons. Um, the the food isn't named regular food, it's like named after Star Wars characters, Star Wars animals.
Mm.
um the water is called a hydration tube or something like that. I mean, everything is
Uh-huh.
just so Star Wars, and it's really cool. The thing I wish they would have done is I wish they would have taken different worlds, not just Batu, and I wish they would have put like Tatooine and Hoth and Coruscant and Mustafar and the Death Star and all these different places so we could visit those. And I think that would have been much more interesting. But what they have is great. It's a lot of fun.
Mm. Yeah. Is it was crazy going from a world where just like Star Tour was the only
Yeah.
like ride out there that you could experience with Star Wars until like it expanded to a full land. It was
Now we've got a
wild to
full
go.
world. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
And then Marvel Land is coming,
Yeah. Yep.
which I'm excited for.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I like my girlfriend and I definitely think are going to be going to Avengers Campus ASAP. She's a huge
Yeah,
Marvel
man.
fan. Uh-huh.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Do you live in Cali?
No, I live in Wisconsin.
Oh,
So,
okay, so you're gonna visit. Yeah, so I'm in Canada, so it's like for
mhm.
me. But she's from California, so it's like she's always at Disneyland.
Oh,
Always,
okay.
always. Yeah. But
Yeah.
now she lives here, so it's like no
Mhm.
more.
Yep. Now you have to travel like
Yeah, I
most
know.
people. Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Dude. So you hmm. So un, just as like a content creator question, you've
Yeah.
got lots of different like types of content on your channel, like long form content, short form content. Do you worry that anything needs to be like split up into different channel, like a podcast channel and different things like that?
No, I just kind of throw everything on there and yeah, those people who want to watch it, they can watch it, and those who don't, okay, that's
Hmm.
fine too. There's other content that I'll put out that they'll enjoy.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's the you give people the one stop shop for anything Star Wars that they want to be able to consume.
Right.
That's
And there are going to be things that they don't like. There are people who don't like me for whatever reason, but they like some of the content that I put out. I'm sure there are some people who like the fan film, but may not like the podcasts, or don't like the animations, or don't like the fan fictions, but they like the lore videos. And you get all these different people from different walks of life that like different things, but you can put out all of that stuff and they can pick and choose. And so that's my thoughts on that.
yeah, for sure. You give people the ability to enjoy it all. Got got the community around you
Yeah,
supporting
it's
you.
like, it's like
Mhm.
a restaurant. Like, I'm not just serving vegan food or just, hamburgers. It's like,
Yeah,
we got it all, man. Like, whatever
yeah,
you want.
for sure. So it's I think that's a great place to end. We've been able to talk about
Sure.
how you began and where you're planning to go in the future making films. Uh where I guess another question is what type of films do you want to make? Like where do you see your content going in the future once you have the ability to make films after Vader 2?
That's a good question. I started writing a book already on, it's only in the first like 10 pages, but I have a
Mm.
general outline for what I want. And it's basically just a fantasy kind of fictional novel, with characters and obviously every book has characters, every story has characters, but it would cover everything under the sun that I think is cool. So for me, it would be, magic. It would be heroism. It would be there would be villains. There'd be dark magic. There would be different species, different aliens. There'd be elves. There would
Hmm.
be just literally anything you could think of from any movie that is cool, science fiction to westerns and all that stuff put into this one story, and that's where I want to take it. That's something I'd like to do, is to combine everything, and put it in a world where it makes sense.
Sure. Start creating your own universe
My
to
own IP. Yeah,
yep, to play around with.
yeah, yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sounds very exciting. And I look forward to seeing when that book comes out, being able to experience all of that. Be very
Thanks, man.
cool. Hmm.
Thank you.
For sure. So, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast theory. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. I
Mhm.
really appreciate it. Had a fun time.
I'm very glad to hear that. Uh, to all of you who are listening or watching, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast. And as I continue to share the stories of people who are following their passions and achieving their dreams, it would mean a lot if you shared this podcast with a friend and reviewed the show on iTunes. To all of you fun people who are out in the world, Thank you so much for watching or listening, and have a magical day.